friends, it's Mrs. Murphy, and it's time for reading. In today's lesson, we're going to go back and reread Up in the Garden, Down in the Dirt. Before we read, we're going to talk about some of the power words that are in our story. Then, we'll talk about why we're reading it again today. Let's check out the power words.
Our first word is burrow. Say it with me. Burrow. To burrow means to make a hole in the ground by digging. For example, the mole uses its long claws to burrow in the ground. Our next word is soil. Say it with me. Soil. Soil is the dirt that plants grow in. My grandma and I planted vegetables in the soil. Our last word is vine. Say it with me. Vine. A vine is a plant that has very long stems and grows on the ground or up a wall. For example, watermelons grow on a long vine.
Now that we talked about the power words, let's talk about why we're reading this again. In today's lesson, you're reading this story to practice synthesizing. Whoa, that's kind of another power word. Have you ever heard the word synthesizing before? Can you say it with me? Synthesizing. Even though it sounds like a tricky word, it's just a fancy word for putting it together. Check it out. When you synthesize, all you're doing is putting pieces together to make new understanding. As you're reading, you might notice different ideas that are parts of an idea. But then when you put all that information together, it makes a new idea. It's like putting a puzzle together. To get a better understanding of synthesizing, let's take an example from our book. At one point in the book, we learn that you're eating plants when you eat things like carrots and lettuce. Then later we learn that when you're eating bread and pasta, you're eating plants too. If I put those ideas together, I learn that you're eating plants all the time, even if you don't realize it. All right, let's reread our story. As we read, we will stop and synthesize.
And mud sucks at my rain boots. It's not quite time, Nana says. Down in the dirt, things need to dry out and warm up. What's down there? I ask. Down in the dirt is a whole busy world of earthworms and insects digging and building and stirring up soil. They're already working down in the dirt.
Who starts working on the garden first? The earthworms and insects start first. Where are they? You're right, they're down in the dirt.
Up in the garden, we snap brittle stalks, scoop rusty armfuls, and wheel away weeds for chickens. While they squabble and scratch, we spread compost over the soil. Down in the dirt, pill bugs chew through last year's leaves. I give a gentle poke. They roll up tight and hide in plated suits of armor, roly-poly round. Up in the garden, it's time to plant. I trail a furrow with my finger and sprinkle seeds in careful rows. Give them a drink, Nana says. We pat them down to snuggle in the dark. Down in the dirt, a tomato hornworm rests, waiting for wings, in the leaves where she'll lay her eggs. Up in the garden, carrot plants sprout, pea blossoms bloom, wasps are on the prowl, honeybees visit, legs loaded with pollen. I weed and wilt in sun so strong, even Nana looks for shade. Down in the dirt, earthworms tunnel deep. I'm jealous of their cool, damp dark. Up in the garden, rain shower. Nana turns the hose on me. Whee! I hide behind the cucumber vines, but their leaves can't save me. I shiver and laugh, drenched in Nana's rain. Down in the dirt, water soaks deep, roots drink it in, and a long-legged spider stilt walks over the streams. Up in the garden, there's so much to eat. Ladybugs feast on aphids, Nana crunches green beans. I bite a ripe tomato, warm from the sun. Juice dribbles down my chin. Down in the dirt, a robin's beak finds a cricket, a beetle, a grub. Slugs are scrumptious too.
The text says, there's so much to eat. Who's the food for? Well, the ladybugs eat aphids. Nana eats string beans. The girl eats tomatoes. The robin eats a cricket, beetle, and grub.
Up in the garden, we pick cukes and zucchini, harvesting into the dark. Bats swoop through the sunflowers. I pluck June bugs from the basil until it's time for bed. Down in the dirt, skunks work the knife shift. They snuggle and dig and gobble cutworms while I sleep. Up in the garden, a praying mantis wakes to hunt mosquitoes. Nana sprays away the aphids, and I'm after grasshoppers, ready to swoosh, but...
Why do you think Nana sprays away the aphids? Well, aphids are bugs that are bad for the garden. Let's synthesize. Put this together with what we learned about how important other bugs are for the garden. What new idea can we make? Some bugs are good and helpful for a garden. Some are not good for a garden.
Snap! Someone else is faster. Down in the dirt, a smooth, shining garter snake crunches on supper. Up in the garden, the wind grows cool, pumpkins blush orange, and sunflowers bow to September. Nana ties them together to build a house for reading. Down in the dirt, an orb weaver spins her web, strand by silken strand. She'll munch on moths tonight. Up in the garden, colored leaves litter the squash vines, and we know the cold is coming. Hurry, hurry, and harvest! There's enough for the neighbors too. Down in the dirt, frantic ants gather what we leave behind. They're storing food for cooler days ahead. Up in the garden, frost draws lace on leftover leaves where secret egg sacs hang, waiting for the warmth to return. We say goodbye and spread the winter blankets. Down in the dirt, beetles burrow, ants scurry home, earthworms curl tight in the dark. When Grandpa calls us in for soup, an autumn moon is rising. Up in the garden, dry corn stalks tremble and the wind smells like winter. But the long ripe days of summer still rest in the garden beds. The ladybugs and bumblebees, earthworms and ants are hunkered down, hiding, biding their time. Dreaming of sunshine and blossoms and sprouts, under the bare arms of trees in the blanketing snow, a whole new garden sleeps down in the dirt.
Why do you think the text starts with the spring and ends with the winter? I think it shows what happens in the garden over a whole year. How does the author show a whole new garden sleeps in the dirt? I see the worms, bugs, and seeds are sleeping underground. It even looks like they're arranged like flowers. Thanks for reading with me today. In our lesson today, we learned that synthesizing might sound like a tricky word, but it's really just as easy as putting the pieces of a puzzle together. I'll see you guys next time. If you like this story, don't forget to like and subscribe.